Alhamdulillah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Guys, thank you for joining us for our second stream of today, mashallah, 27th of August 2024. And we've got a very interesting show. And if you guys are a, a big, not fan, but who are interested in the streams that our brother Muhammad Imtiaz and our older brother and Ustad Adnan Rashid have been doing regarding Mirza Ghulam Ahmad and his so-called claims of being this, you know what, guys, I don't know where to start. His claims of being a prophet, or more than one prophet at once, maybe like a little trinity going on in his little brain. He thought he was much more or the same level as our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and also the kind of like an image of Ibn Maryam, a'udhu billah, of being Jesus and so forth. So, but we're going to unpack this today, inshallah. And as you can see by the title of the show, is like it's going to be a Q&A towards the end. And there's some brothers and sisters in the chat, and I can recognize your names and I appreciate your support. And as you can see, the title of today's show is Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, his early life, and of course, his interaction with Christian missionaries. But we will unpack it, inshallah, in a more detailed manner. And of course, joining me today is our beloved brother Bashir Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum, brother. Nice to see you.
Walaikum salam, brother. I'm happy to be back on this platform, brother.
Mashallah, you're always welcome. Yeah, due to the time difference, we don't seem to connect that well because of the time difference. Because I think where you are now is like 9 a.m. If I'm not.
Yes, sir. It is 9:04 a.m. West Coast Pacific Standard Time.
MashaAllah, fantastic. So yeah, we're going to unpack today, brother, this particular individual, and watching the streams over the last couple of months, it's been very interesting in how the Qadianis or Ahmadis. What's the best terminology to use? Ahmadis or Qadianis? What is the best?
I normally call them Qadiani Ahmadis.
Okay.
And that because there's Lahori Ahmadis, Jamba Ahmadis, and they don't. It's funny, they don't consider anyone else an Ahmadi except them.
Oh man, mashallah, you bring so much energy to the show, brother, and you're, mashallah, the way you come across is very positive, very comical sometimes, and I appreciate that. But on a serious note, that this particular individual and claimed for himself to be a prophet and much more, to be honest. I'm hoping that you'll unpack this if you don't mind. And I just want to, if you don't mind explaining, what moment in time did he, from somebody being quite learned in the religion of Islam, and he understood Persian, of course, and he wasn't a big English speaker or Arabic speaker. What time span did his claim come of being, claiming to be the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, or Jesus, or Jesus Ibn Maryam? If you don't mind just sharing that with us, please.
Yeah, so the context is interesting, brother. We were in an interesting time. When the Mongolians invaded, there were no discussions on Islam, between the Mongolians and the Arabs or the Persians. They didn't have discussions. They didn't send in the missionaries. The Mongolians didn't send any missionaries in to spread Buddhism, maybe, or whatever they might have been. Actually, we're not even exactly sure. That's not even exactly documented. If Ibn Taymiyyah dealt with the Mongolians in detail, feel free to go read his work, and see if there was any type of engagement, but in British India was the engagement. It wasn't in Indonesia, but as you know, there's more Muslims in Indonesia than any other country in the world. But the Dutch did their colonialism there, and they didn't really bother Islam, and that was interesting. And brother, do you know the name of the spice in Indonesia that drove Europeans absolutely crazy?
No, brother. What do you mean? How it means crazy? The taste of it, or the use of it, meaning in a particular way?
Both, because I think there were some medicinal uses, but nutmeg. The nutmeg drove Europeans crazy, and it could only be found in Indonesia.
Wow.
And
so what would they do with this? What, ground it or what? What do you mean?
I've never had nutmeg.
If anybody knows, let us know. Anybody's tried it.
Brother, I've even read in some Islamic books that it's haram because it makes you out of your senses a little. I wouldn't know. But if I do know, I've seen in movies during Christmas they'll have some nutmeg and they'll mix it with the alcohol. Actually, I'm not even exactly sure how that works, but this nutmeg drove them absolutely crazy. And it wasn't just the nutmeg. You got to remember, in Europe, it's kind of cold, so they can't even grow nutmeg or sugar. They can't grow sugar in Europe. I mean, maybe now in a lab it'll be like super expensive, or the Germans invented fake sugar. Also, I guess the technical word is synthetic. Is when you create, as you know, with all the artificial flavors. That this is where everything comes from. It was the Europeans saying it's too expensive for us to get it, so let's just create a knockoff version that's also edible. It's bad for you, probably cause cancer and obesity.
Absolutely.
But we need this sugar. So, but the Dutch don't seem to have been trying to convert the Muslims. As you know, Indonesia is still like 97% Sunni Muslim. Like, it's a high percentage. Like, it's not. It hasn't really wavered. So anyhow. And the Portuguese, remember, it was the Portuguese. They were the first ones to get around the tip of South Africa, and it's got to do with. Do you remember Bernoulli's principle in like high school? Does that ring a bell?
No, we never did anything like that.
Yeah, it was something called Bernoulli's principle, where air. So here was the thing. If you had a ship, if you have a sailboat, you're stuck with the prevailing trade winds. If they're blowing this way, that's the way you're going to go.
Yeah.
You can't really. So around the tip of South Africa is a whirlwind. On the bottom of the earth, it's a whirlwind. So can you go in and go the opposite way? You're dead. Your ship's going to capsize. But you can go in and go towards the way of the current. So South Africa, it's turning this way. You can go from the Atlantic to the Pacific. But you can't go from the Pacific to the Atlantic, right? The only way is if you invent Bernoulli's principle and you learn how to sail into the wind, right? And it's like an aircraft. So if you ever see a sailboat, it's up on its side, right? If you see like a sailboat, they're up on its side, and they can go faster into the wind than with the wind. It's the weirdest thing. So now you can go front, back, left, right, etc. So the Mediterranean Sea. Let me tell you something funny about the Mediterranean Sea. All the winds blow in from Spain and Morocco. They blow in towards Egypt. So if you're trying to go out, you're gonna have like maybe 100 men with paddles could overcome the speed, right?
SubhanAllah.
Of the wind, but it'll be like they're gonna need some food and a day off, or something like that. So anyhow, the Portuguese come around. First they got around West Africa, the Canary Islands, Gambia, around to Nigeria, and then they rolled right in. Or some say they went to West Africa, South America, and then like following the trade winds, it's faster, right? So anyhow, the Portuguese landed in India. They also landed in the Gulf of Oman, and they had like 100-year war with the Safavids, aka the Shias emerged. Okay, and I don't want to go down the route of how the Shias emerged, but it emerged through its colonization also. And all the viewers have to do is look it up. And again, I'm not saying I have all the answers to all of this. I'm just presenting what I found so far, and I'm open to suggestions. I'm open to look at different research, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So anyhow, the British come around, and okay, so the Portuguese, they land in like Goa. Have you heard of like Goa?
Yes. Yeah.
It's along the west coast of India. It's Goa. I think Bombay is on that side also.
Yes, that's right at the bottom. Yeah.
Right. So the Portuguese land, and the Portuguese want to set up a trade. So the first thing that they say is, Christianity has been here for 1,000 years. Where no. There wasn't a single Christian in India, in India, brother, until the Portuguese arrived, and that's when it arrived. Before that, no, sir, not at all, not at all. Um,
It's interesting because what year are we talking about there? It's got to be before the 60s or 70s.
we're talking the
Yeah,
1600s.
yeah.
Talking the
Wow.
1600s, and this is also the invention of the stock market and the
Mm,
invention of capitalism and colonialism. It's all connected. All three are connected, because what people would do in the Netherlands, Holland, which are the Dutch, they would put their money together, and get a ship going, get an armada of ships to go on
that's
a
right.
trade run, to go get the nutmeg and the sugar. So the thing about nutmeg and sugar, it doesn't go bad over like 2 months of travel. You see what I mean?
Subhanallah.
Because if it goes bad by 2 months,
Mm,
like it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. So it's
worth
got
yeah.
to be food stuff that's preserved for about a month worth of travel, or however long it takes. So anyhow, the British had their own colonies going. And okay, the other thing, one of the biggest exports from Pakistan is cotton.
That's
Or
right.
but they don't call it cotton; they call it textiles, which is like an interesting name, an interesting way to explain it. So the British, as you know, America was their colony, and that was
Mm,
where they were growing their cotton and sugar. They lost America 1776, right? July 4th. And now they're like, well, we got to go get India now, because in India we can get the cotton and the sugar, and we can trade with the Dutch and get the nutmeg, or we can grow it. I think that there's an island in the Caribbean called Grenada. If you ever heard of Grenada,
yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah.
it's the world's top supplier of nutmeg.
Well, we're going to we'll be learning a lot about nutmeg today, guys. So stay tuned.
So look. You know why people love desi food? Like, bro, I got Hawaiians and Polynesians. I've never went to a Hawaiian restaurant, and I've never went to.
Mm,
Cause they're like, you guys got all the foods. I'm like, cause we had all the water and
yeah.
we had all the food stuff. That everyone didn't have. But what we didn't have was the potato. The
Wow.
the alu. Everyone eats
Um,
alu, bro. They were found in South America, and
mm,
they were brought to India. You know what I mean? And it
mm,
became a staple food source. So anyhow, let's get into the Christian missionaries. So okay. So the British show up to India, and they're like, that they show up with their company, with their business, the British East India Company, and they're like, well, we need to streamline this colonization process, because it's going kind of bumpy. So let's send in the Christian missionaries. So which is the first thing I'm going to present here, if I can
So I'm
share my.
assuming the Christian missionaries came along with trading boats and other shipping materials. So they came along, yes, gone start to evangelize the natives, if that makes any sense. And was there an aspect of being a European nation that we are somehow more civilized and more sane than natives running around with kache and kameez and all that kind of stuff, traditional? Was there some aspects of racism also?
Totally, and this is the same era that they invented evolution, the theory of
Mm,
evolution. So Charles Darwin, and the out of Africa theory, he starts saying we all came out of Africa. So he's essentially saying we were all monkeys and apes, and look, we evolved faster than everyone else. We're the master
right.
race. That's what they're saying.
Subhanallah.
Even though, so look, I'm pretty straight up. If you talk to me, I'm straight.
Mm,
I'm not going to talk to you for 50 minutes to tell you one little thing with an angle
mm,
on it. I'm gonna just tell you. I'll just tell you. So that's what it was. Is and I haven't fully researched this. Maybe they were the first ones to learn how to sail into the wind. I haven't
mm,
found any other evidence that the Islamic sailboats were sailing into the wind. From what I've found so far, is the Ottoman Empire used the trade winds around the Indian Ocean and in the Mediterranean, and they were stuck with the trade winds. And I'll tell you, underneath the boat, if it can sail into the wind, it's got like a wing underneath the boat that no one can see. So that's part of it too. So anyhow, can you share my screen, brother?
Yeah, of course. Second, let me just do that. There you go.
So you see this here. This is the Charter Act of 1813, the East India Company. So it was passed in Parliament, brother. They renewed the charter of the British East India Company, and what's funny is the company's commercial monopoly was ended, except for tea and opium and trade with China.
Interesting.
So that's but you know the one thing that India, Pakistan, and Afghanistan had that Indonesia didn't have, opium.
Yeah.
And everything comes from opium: heroin, morphine, your Valium, all these things, almost everything comes from the opium because it's a cocktail. It's a flower with all this stuff you can separate and make pure heroin, pure et cetera, et cetera. So
Wow.
yeah. So if you're in war, so as you know, in war is where everything's invented, or preparations for war. Even penicillin was invented during war and on accident. So a soldier could have his arm chopped off and he's about to go into panic and die. You give him some opium, he can't feel a thing. So he's good. He's good. So anyways, and the advisory here is, yeah, I'm showing a Wikipedia page. You can't use Wikipedia in college, but I've checked all the references here. All the references are good. So if you look at the what are the first few that come up? 2, 3, and 4. Look. I'll go to the bottom of the page. So look here's the reference. These are all academic. It's all academic. So anyhow, so as you can see, it says the act expressly asserted that the crown's sovereignty over British India allotted 100,000 rupees. That's a lot of money annually, especially in 1813. That's like would you call that a billion? In today's, I mean, we wouldn't know. We have to do the math and the research, but seems like a lot. So this is what they're doing. This is what they got going on. So okay. So that's the act. So who shows up? And I wanted to show this here. So there's a guy named Fander, and I'm saying his name wrong, brother. Maybe you could say it better.
No, I actually think you're right. I think you're right because Fander, there's actually a particular Christian apologist who actually uses this name by the I think it's Jay Smith. He used this Fander film. He does. It's very. I can understand now, mashallah, the connection. Subhanallah, how these people went into the Indian subcontinent and tried to call people to Christ or Jesus, and I can see the connection there. Really can. SubhanAllah.
Yep. So here we go. In 1835, Fander. Well, so actually, let me show this other screen first. So again, we're going to go to a Wikipedia page just because I didn't really have time to make a presentation. Okay. Can you show my screen? Okay. So who's Fander? Yeah. Let's talk about this guy. And I think he was German, if I remember correctly. He was also in the Caucasus, brother. Check that out. And yeah, he was born in Germany. Okay, and then he died in London. And he was a priest for who? He was Lutheran. Now, I don't really know much about Christianity. I know a little bit about Christianity, but I don't know the difference between a Lutheran and a Protestant, But here's the big thing. He was part of the Church Missionary Society, and Mirza Ghulam Ahmad had beefs with them, extensive beefs. But they're the main one. I don't want to say the main. They're one of the main Christian missionary situations in British India. Okay.
And they came with. Did they come with the East India Company, or they funded themselves, or what happened with that particular situation?
We haven't exactly figured that one out yet, but I'm gonna come to it. So remember, I mean, what do you think, brother? Look. That's like, look. Globally, Saudi Arabia sells this many barrels of oil to this country or that country. That's what they're telling us. Now we don't know. We didn't count every little barrel to know what they exactly gave them, or if they even paid them or not. There's a lot of things in theory they work, but in practicality, you're like, how does a guy get a free trip from London to British India?
Exactly.
It's on the house, bro. It's on the house. So you're mixing. You're saying they're separate, but you're giving them free rides. And look, I'll tell you something funny. Because we were both in the military. There's beef between the branches. The Navy and the Marine.
Of course, yeah.
The Navy guys, they used to tell the Marine or the Marines, they used to tell the Navy, yeah, we don't like the Navy, but if we need a ride, they give us a ride wherever we need to go.
I've been there, brother. I've been there, yeah.
And it's the funniest thing. It's the funniest thing in the world because it's technically true. It's technically true. So, okay. So, Fander, when does he show up? Okay, so look, he was in the South Caucasus, 1825 already. Why is he there? I don't know. Someone's got to go deeper into it. Okay, Central Asia. Now he's in Central, like Baghdad. That's not, I wouldn't call that Central Asia. Okay, so then he shows up to India. Is that 1841? Roughly 1840. Oh, he's in 1837. He was part of an orphanage. So that's the other thing. They're finding kids just roaming the street, and they're taking them in. They're like, give us all the kids who are roaming the streets that don't have any food. We'll take them. And now we're going to teach them English. We're going to teach them math. We're going to teach them all the medical stuff that we know that people in India might not know. And this is how we're going to begin to convert people, is by offering them all of these things, right? Which that's what they're still doing in Africa to this day. So Fander shows up, et cetera, et cetera. All this happened. Then look. Have you read this debate? Who's read this debate between Fander and Ramatullah Keranvi?
I have heard bits and bobs of it from Adnan and stuff when they did the streams, but yeah, go into more detail about it. So this was like a proper public debate, was it, or was it just between private, or was that a public debate?
I haven't gotten to the bottom of it, but was it because they didn't have speakers and a microphone? So if you're in a hall, only the closest 100 people can even hear you. So Fander did his research on Islam, so let me show you what he says. So Fander in 1835 says this. So what do you think about that, brother? So he goes through the Islamic material. He says, oh, there's a contradiction. Oh, what's the contradiction? You guys say that Isa alayhi salam is going to return. The Quran says he died. So who's the first one saying this in British India? Christian missionaries. They're finding contradictions. They're trying to find apparent contradictions in Islam, and they're like, oh, if Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the final prophet, why is Isa alayhi salam coming back? Now, does all this sound familiar? Who else is saying this nowadays?
Yeah,
the Qadianis. They said the exact same thing. They said, here's the contradictions. Well, who's calling them a contradiction? Fander, Sir William Muir, Dr. Clark. All these Christian missionaries, this is what they were saying. So you took what they were saying, and now you're using it against us? Shabash, we say, right? We say, shabash with the... So, okay. So, and so this is before the debate. So let me go back 20 years before the debate. This is 1835. And not to mention... George Sale. Have you seen George Sale's English mistranslation of the Quran, brother?
I have heard of it, where of course, he doesn't translate the words properly. He adds a bit of his own masala into the translation, as they say. And I think this is one of the way people when it says Allah is the best of planners, they change it to He's the best of deceivers and so forth. And this is what kind of tactics these people, missionaries, use. They actually use the same thing with some of the translations of Sahih Bukhari. I remember when I was in Pakistan and I bought a cheaper version, about 6 or 8 books of Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, and the translation of that was totally opposite to ones I bought from Saudi Arabia. And when you open the back of the book, it's actually, got them here at the back of the book. It's actually, the translation was done by an English person. I don't know if he was a revert or whatever, but the translation was incorrect. I definitely have experienced that, brother. Definitely.
Yep. So, a Fander, and let me show his photo real quick. So everyone knows who we're talking about. I actually just saw a photo on the website. Okay, so this is sort of his photo, you know, and sort of, as a drawing, not a photo, like a drawing or something like that. So that's who Fander is. He starts saying sort of the same arguments. Okay, and then 20 years later, he debates Rahmatullah Kiranvi. Okay, and then he's got to leave, bro. He's got to leave British India. The British are like, you got to go. You caused trouble. You caused us problems. Now, what's interesting, there was a Muslim who was his secretary, who was Rahmatullah Kiranvi's secretary in that debate. He left Islam. He apostatized and became a Christian. And he ended up having a beef with Mirza Ghulam Ahmad later on, Reverend Imaduddin. And we'll get to that. And we'll get to that. So this is the environment of what's going on in British India. So then
a melting pot. But this is it, though, brother Bashir. It's a bit of a melting pot. So there's so many masalas inside the handi. So when you're tasting it, it all tastes really weird, as they say. But it's definitely quite hectic. It's a very difficult situation. And I remember one of the Qadianis mentioning on one of the previous streams where he said that you don't know what kind of environment Mirza Ghulam was living in. He was under pressure and so forth. Yeah, I can see that actually taking place right now. There is a lot of stuff going on, and the kettle is going to boil sooner or later.
Totally, brother. So his debate with Rahmatullah Kiranvi was put into a book called Mizan al-Haq. Feel free to, matter of fact, I'll pull it up in just a sec. And look at the argument that he makes. He makes the argument right there, and he quotes the verse wrong. He says it's chapter 3, 48. No, it's chapter 3, verse 55. And he says, "O Jesus, alayhi salam, verily I will cause it is I that caused thee to die and take thee up to myself." So look, even he's saying that, and that could be the death of sleep. See what I mean? So Imam Malik said, yeah, it is death, but it's the death of sleep. So that's a different death. That's not moth. Moth is different. Moth is not the death of sleep. Okay. So he's saying, look, there's a contradiction. He's like, in chapter 4, verse 159, he says, or I don't think he exactly quotes that. But then he quotes chapter 19, verse 34, and where Isa alayhi salam says, "And peace be on me, the day I was born, the day I shall die, and the day I shall be raised alive." Right? And then he seems, and that's a misquote too, or oh no, so this is off by one verse. It should be 157. I don't know if the editors of the book made that mistake. Yeah. So okay, where was I? So then here's the debate, 1854. Feel free to pull it all up, and then read about his legacy. Again, the Church Missionary Society, etc., etc. So
he was forced to leave. So he was forced to leave. He was forced to leave India at that particular time. And where did he go then? That area? What did he have to do, and which country did he go to?
I think he went to Saudi Arabia and he stayed there.
Okay.
Here, let me pull it up. But I'm honestly, brother, I haven't done this justice. there's so much more work that needs to be done on, what was in this debate. What
Mm.
exactly did they discuss? As you know, Jay Smith is a Fander fan, and he even named a
Mm.
channel after him. So
That's
we
right.
got to go back now and go find all the books by Rahmatullah Keranvi. And Mirza Ghulam Ahmad stole a bunch of arguments from there. You see what I
Mm.
mean? And then twisted
Yeah.
them. So if you're a Desi person and you're into your history, it's a really good read. So let's see. Rahmatullah Keranvi, 1854, the public debate. Here's the guy who Imaduddin Lahiz, who left Islam. Uh, and then what's weird is, and I haven't confirmed this, but he quoted the Gospel of Barnabas, and as
Mm.
I found that to be strange. As a Muslim, I don't quote the Gospel of Barnabas for
Yeah.
anything. I don't need it.
Subhanallah.
I have no need for it. But
Mm.
maybe there was something else. Someone told him he was using it to say, how many Bibles are there? How do you even know
Mm.
if this is authentic? So where did he go after? His death was he even died in Mecca about 40 years later. So he goes to Mecca and he just sort of stays there.
Mm.
And then feel free to check out his book. It's in Urdu, because I think he might have wrote it in Persian. Not exactly. Oh, it was written in Arabic in 1864. It's a 6-volume book, summarized into English. So it's not even the full. You see what I mean? It's also in Urdu.
Yeah.
It's also in Urdu, but there's more. And then Darulum Karachi is that a good reference? Mufti Taqi Usmani, who's pretty good. Um,
Mm.
so okay, so that was his story, brother. They didn't even let him back in the country. He was banned. They were like, you just need to not be here anymore. You started a big problem, because look, 3 years later was the 1857 mutiny,
Yeah.
right? And
Wow.
do you remember why the mutiny happened, brother? I remember I told you like a year ago, 2 years ago. Let's see if you remember.
Oh, mutiny. Is it because of some of the weapons and stuff of the pig fat? Was it?
That's right. And okay. So I don't know how to phrase it, because
Mm.
Muslims in India don't call it a mutiny; they call it a fight for independence,
Gee.
right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't the average person. It was
Mm.
the soldiers who refused
Mm.
to use these weapons. So
Mm.
I struggle. I've been struggling to characterize that as as I don't know. Maybe
Mm.
it's somewhere in between a mutiny and a fight for independence,
Rebellion.
a
Mm.
rebellion or something. Um, so okay, so in steps this other guy. There's another guy there who was there, and his work. If you haven't read it, you're and again, I'm gonna go through the Wikipedia page. All right, is Sir William Muir. Have you read anything by Sir William Muir, brother?
I've heard the name, but I've not read anything from him at all.
Brother, I remember reading his books 20 years ago.
Wow.
Because they were available in English. He wrote like the history of Islam. He
Mm.
wrote like comment. I can't remember, but very detailed. Here, let me go through the page. Uh,
Yeah, he's Scottish initially. Yeah, he's from Scotland.
so yeah, it's from
Mm.
Scotland.
Wow.
Okay, and then bro, was he the lieutenant governor of the
Mhm.
Northwest province?
Wow.
So hold on, he's a preacher, and
Yeah.
also he's the lieutenant governor.
Yeah.
You see how they do two roles
Mm.
into one. So okay, what did he write? Yep, the history, the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it was messed up, brother. It was the things he wrote, not
Mm.
good, not good. Um, oh, and okay, where to go? All right. So he's also there writing all these books against us. He was around the Afghan War, 1878 to 1880. So he's also there. So all of this is going on. All right. Um, and then the mutiny happens in 1857. So Mirza Ghulam Ahmad didn't go to fight in the mutiny because he can't even lift a weapon. you know, but his brother went. His brothers and his cousins went. His uncles went. They left him alone. They left him at home with like the women folk and the children.
Yeah, I remember you saying he was a bit of a they named him a particular boy where he has these female attributes as a young child. He's a bit of a ladla or something. I remember you mentioning it last time. He was a bit of he had some feminine attributes. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and there ain't no masjid in Qadian. There's no mosque. There's no. I don't even think there was a Sikh temple or a Hindu temple. Actually, I'm not sure about the Hindu and the Sikh, but definitely there was no masjid. So they said he's just in his room all day. Well, in 150 years ago, bro, I went to the village. We outside. We are not inside in the village. We are outside. The only people who are inside are, it's like an opium den. And they're in the opium den, laid up. Remember, there's no radio, there's no TV, there's no nothing inside. So anyhow, so Mirza Ghulam Ahmad goes to Sialkot. So here's the problem.
That's the interesting part. That's the interesting part. What makes him go there? What encourages him to actually go to that particular city or town in India?
Yeah, so there's more information. So the last time I spoke to you about it, I've learned a lot more since then, and I'm continuing to learn. This is a seeking knowledge. You don't just figure it all out and say I'm done. You keep going. So his dad got a pension because they helped in the mutiny / fight for freedom. His dad got some money out of that. See,
but his father was part of the British establishment. He didn't fight for the freedom of the people of India. He was actually, as they call a turncoat. As I don't know if you use that same terminology, that he actually fought for the British.
Right, but before that, he was in the Sikh army as a commander for like 30 years. So when did he turn coat? He was a turncoat 50 years before the mutiny. And brother, there's more research that needs to be done on Muslims under Sikh rule, what they went through. Mirza Ghulam Ahmad's father didn't go through anything. In fact, they were able to come back to Qadian because the initial Sikhs had kicked them out of Qadian and took Qadian. So his dad had to move out 40 miles away, like 50 miles. Like 50 miles away. So by joining military service, now you get perks out of it, right? So Ranjit Singh tells him, "Jo wapas." You can come back to Qadian. So they come back to Qadian. He says, "But you got to serve in the military." So Mirza Ghulam Ahmad's father is so good, he ends up being a commander. Now I don't know major, general. I don't know what the Sikhs had, but he's up there. I was just a grunt, brother. Listen, and I was very disrespectful. I disobeyed, insubordination. I talked back. What I mean? Look. I didn't go to the you can volunteer for flag raising ceremonies. I didn't do none of it. I fixed the airplanes, and I was like, that's all I'm here to do. Fix some airplanes. You can send the little errand boys to go make sure the flag gets risen up and do some menial task. I was like, look, I do the hardest task, so I'm not gonna do the you could volunteer for Toys for Tots and go to and give out. I never volunteered. I never volunteered for anything. And it was hilarious. Because I never.
So when he was there, is that where he stole his father's pension? Is that where it was? And then he went
No. So he hadn't went to Sialkot yet. He was still in Qadian, and the British awarded a pension. So back then there was no direct deposit, right? You got to go pick up the money, okay? And you could get robbed too, because you got all this money on you. Maybe it was gold coins. Or they did have a currency. So maybe it was paper note currency. We're not exactly sure. So Mirza Ghulam Ahmad goes to go pick it up, and we don't know when. It could be 1860, a few years later. So he goes to pick it up, and his cousin goes with him, cousin brother, So they say the cousin brother made him spend it all. This is a 25-year-old man. Come on, you don't blame the cousin. You know what I mean? That's a common cop out. No, I didn't do it. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. It was him. It was the other guy. You know, like if someone gets into a fight and they have a black eye, what they say? No, you see the other guy. So anyhow, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad is on the road. He doesn't even come home. You know, he sends a letter. Dad, Mom, I spent all the money. They're like, how'd you spend all the money? Like, you didn't have a little bit left. You didn't even, like, you know, you got to have money to get home. You spent the gas money to get home to on what? On opium and women in Lahore? I mean, we don't know where he went. But, you know, Ida Mundi's in range. And all of his pleasures could be, you know, and he was known to go there later on in life. So anyhow, he sends a letter. Dad says, Putter, he says, you're not coming home. You will not come home. Dafa ho ja. So now Razi said that recently. So he said Dafa ho ja. So then he goes to Sialkot. And you know, I was told he was there for 4 years. This is what I was told. Ahmadiyya movement said 4 years. Come to find out, it was double. It was 8 years, maybe more. So brother, how many years did you do in the military?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Nearly 15.
Oh, that's a long time.
Yeah, I know.
So I only did I did like 5.
Oh, you're a part-timer, brother.
I'm a part-time. It's different. So when you do 5, it's different. 5 and 10 is big difference. Any job you work, if you work there 4 years, that's you know, you didn't really even progress. It takes about 8 to 10 to really progress, right? So he's in Sialkot, and why are they lying about it? That's the question. Why are they lying about the amount of years he was in Sialkot? Was my first red flag. And I didn't catch this initially. I had to double back, to triple back, and be like, what is going? So apparently, in 1904, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad was back in Sialkot. He didn't give the lecture though, but he had someone else read out a lecture. And he says he was there in Sialkot for 8 years, and he used to walk around the town, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But he never said what he did in Sialkot. That's the tricky part. He just said.
What about his education, though? What about when did he start learning, read to write, and his education regarding the Quran and the Christian beliefs? Was that while he was there or while he was with his parents?
Allegedly, it's while he's there in Sialkot, because the Scotch Mission Society. So which leads me to the next. Where to go? So okay, so here we go. Here we go. Pulling it up now. So as a kid, and he says he learned the Quran in a mosque that dogs were urinating in. Like he just gives the word, and the reason he says this is because he's trying to give the impression that no one taught him anything. So he's discrediting. He's like, oh, my teachers smoked hookah. Some of them were on opium. You know, he's trying to say Allah taught me. Don't think these people taught me anything. But he had kind of confessed to it, so he had to come up with a solution. So his solution was to discredit all these people. Now, it's not clear what he learned of Christianity before Sialkot. And in fact, Sir Sayyid Ahmad Khan, I don't know why I call him Sir, but Sayyid Ahmad Khan, he wrote a commentary of the Bible in Urdu by like 1860. So the same time Mirza Ghulam Ahmad's in Sialkot, this commentary of the Bible comes out in Urdu that he can read. So now he can gain some knowledge on on what Christians believe and et cetera, et cetera. So okay. So who was there there's a famous group of people who were
Who's
there.
Butler and Swift? Who's Butler and Swift, brother?
We're slowly getting there. We're slowly getting there.
Oh,
Slowly getting there.
interesting.
Okay, okay. And let me just. Okay, so the Church of Scotland came to Sialkot in January 1857. This is a few months before the mutiny or the freedom fight. So the Church of Scotland's already there doing their work. Okay, and then.
But this is
They
why I
ended up.
mentioned the second character that you've shown. He was from Scotland. That's why I wanted to mention it to link it onto there. There is definitely jigsaw going on here. Whereas he was based in Scotland. He was a Christian preacher at the same time. He was a governor of the area of India, a big part of India. And now people from the Church of Scotland are probably realised now that we can come over here and start to brainwash the natives and make them understand that Christianity is the way forward to be more modern and to have a modern outlook on it. But yeah, sorry, brother, carry on. It's quite interesting, man. It's mashallah.
Yep. And I'm barely scratching the surface, brother. Look, I work a full-time job. I have kids. I have a whole life, and then in my spare time, I'm working on this to try to figure out. So it's going to take time for me to slowly. I haven't dug through William Mayer either, but so anyhow. The Church of Scotland is there, and then they end up setting up this school 20 years later, 32 years later, called the Scotch Mission College. And guess who goes there? A very famous person, Alama Iqbal. So, brother, if you go to a Christian school in British India in the 1800s, yeah, they'll teach you some math, they'll teach you some medical. What else are they going to teach you?
Yeah.
On accident. Yeah. They could say, we're going to teach you English. Well, how are you going to teach me English? Read the Bible. Or let's create curriculum that shows Jesus, alayhi salam, in a godly, you know what I mean? Like they could slip it. That's why, look, Muslims didn't send their women to go to school and to these schools to be taught, because what are you teaching them? To go be liberal? Like that's what you're teaching them. You're teaching them don't do hijab, YOLO, you only live once. Right? Hold on. What are they teaching them? Like, look, they're teaching. You know what they're teaching, brother, in terms of the LGBTQ, LMNO, ABCD, EFGK. Okay, we know what they're teaching. We know the average human being. If you're watching YouTube and those ads come on, you're affected by the ads on YouTube. Okay, anything, and that's why in Islam, don't even look, brother, don't even look at a woman, because Allah is saying your biology is telling you don't even look, because if you do, they used to say in Pakistan, jihaske te fasge. If you're looking at a, and these things that my cousins would tell me, you know what I mean? And I thought it was funny. I was like in my early 20s. Now it's like, astaghfirullah, brother, what are you doing? But anyhow, so they're setting up schools and teach, and Alama Iqbal's at this school. So let me just throw in there, he also disbelieved in the second coming of Isa alayhi salam. Early, he was with the whole Sayyid Ahmad Khan, the whole modernist, we're liberal, shave your beard, have the big mustache, where they twist the end of the mustache and all that. In Islam, you don't twist the end of the mustache because it ain't long enough.
I don't know if you've ever heard of this terminology, and it was very common when I was growing up in the UK, and it's quite offensive. It's termed the WOG. I don't know if it's WOG. I think it's called the WOG, and Pakistanis were called this, and Indians were called this because they dressed like Europeans. I think it was Western orientated gentlemen. I think that's what the terminology was, and it's actually like being called the P word or something like that. And it's called the WOGs. We were called WOGs because we were Asians, but we used to dress like Europeans and British and so forth. So we used to be clean shaven, mustache, suit and tie and stuff like that. We left our samar kameez away. We didn't grow our beard. So we tried to implement or look like Europeans. And then we got the terminology. If any guys remember, brothers and sisters, that term I'm mentioning, feel free to share your thoughts on that.
Yep. So they got the school in Sialkot up and running a little bit later on. You can see the names. You won't see a butler, any of this. And so now it's called the Government Murray College Sialkot, and they've sort of removed the Christian side of the entire thing. If you catch my drift, or
Mm.
they tried to like, can you guys make this not a Christian specific school or slash organization, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So okay, let's go back to Sialco. So this is the backdrop, brother. Look, it took 50 minutes just to get the backdrop going
Yeah.
of what Mirza Ghulam Ahmad's up against. So now he's in Sialkot. All right, let me find the essay. Uh, okay, all right. I'm having some trouble finding this essay. So he's in Sialkot, and the first assignment that he gets, and he's working in the office of the deputy commissioner, brother. So that's like huge. You know, you're the right hand man of the deputy commissioner, right? That's
It's
a bro.
interesting. It's interesting because due to his father's background and his history, a service record, I'm sure that's what really got him into a decent job because of his father and stuff. So is that possible?
Totally. His father was the one who arranged it.
Oh, there you go. Subhanallah.
Yeah, he would not have gotten this job, bro.
Mm,
Brother, look, the average if I was in British India, I would have broke my back in the fields and the
yeah.
farms. That's what I would have been doing. I'd be too hostile to go work with some white guy in the deputy commissioner's office. It wasn't gonna happen. He would have threw me out in a day, just because I cracked jokes all day. You know, I would have cracked jokes on him. You know, made fun or you know, whatever the case is. I would have been all over this guy. So it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked. You know, as you know, even in the military, you know, we bag on each other, or I don't know the proper terminology, but you know, men, we insult each
Yeah.
other
Just to keep
quite a
morale
bit,
high.
quite
Yeah.
a bit, and we don't mind it. You know, it's sort of part of the.
Yeah.
If you're playing basketball, you're trading insults. You know,
Mm.
you know, stuff like that. We all got thick skin. You know, you'll get a guy to break. So okay. So now he's in Sialkot. Let me show you the essay I spent hours and hours and hours on. Here it is. Okay. See if it pulls up. All right. So let me turn it into this version. Okay. So here we go. So look how it starts. And I got to add the link. So after the famous pension stealing scam that MGA engaged in, he was banished to work in Sialkot in the office of the deputy commissioner. Now, who was he? I'm trying to find out who was this guy. You know, I've seen conflicting results. I haven't figured it out yet. Once again, this is a work in progress. If any MD knows, email me, send me a message. You know, brother, I work with MDs too on getting information. I'm trying to get information out of anyone. Who's got the information? I don't care who's got it. Let me have it. Let me take a look. So that's sort of like my attitude. So okay. And then essentially these are tax collectors. So brother, can you imagine the prophet? And remember, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad claimed to be the last prophet, brother. Astaghfirullah, brother. Na'uzubillah, brother. So you're telling me the last prophet is working in the office of the deputy commissioner in Sialkot, sitting on the floor? You know, the dude, they didn't have public toilets back then. I don't know where they used the bathroom at, but he's probably cleaning up after the guy too. You know, I give him a slap on the head, boy, go clean the urinal or something. I don't know, but you know, look, I did it for my parents too. I did it for everyone. I was a young kid. I had to do everything, you know, but I'm not a prophet. I'm not even close. You know, I'm not even trying to be. I have no aspiration. You know what Ahmadiyya, they say, oh, anyone can be a prophet. You just gotta say, recite Surah Fatiha over and over again, and maybe no, bro. You're either born one or you're not. You cannot come. Anyhow. So he's there in Sialkot. So what years was he there? Was he there, brother?
1860 to 1868. So he's there, brother. But you said 8 years he was there. So yeah, he was there. Yeah, he was there for 8 years in Sialkot. He's got a good job by now. He's mixing very well with the establishment. He's possibly getting the Bible in his own language now and reading it. He went into education where majority of the time you are being taught from a Christian standpoint. So it is quite interesting how the story is being built up here.
Right. So okay, I wasn't able to track down the Ahmadiyya references in Sirat al-Mahdi for where they say so now. So in 1923, Mirza Ghulam is dead. Did they say he was only there for 4 years? Okay. Why are they doing this? I haven't quite figured it out yet. They also say he debated Christians there. So that piqued my interest. A Reverend Butler and a Reverend Swift. So, and I'll get to that in just a sec. So check out this reference, brother. So now he's in interrogations. So as soon as he shows up, they say as soon as on day one, he shows up, they're like, hey, we think this Arab is a spy. Can you help us interrogate him? So now your prophet in his youth was an interrogator for the colonial powers. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Knock it off, guys. All right. So, and look at the date, 1864 to 1868. I just left it there just to show there's a contradiction. So his best friend is a Hindu lawyer.
Hindu lawyer.
Brother, your prophet's best friend is a Hindu lawyer that he borrows money from, that he went to school with. He says he went to school. And now I don't know what that means. You know, in the village, if you have if someone teaches you the position of the sun for the rest of your life, he's your teacher, and that's how you would refer to him. If they teach you anything. So we don't know the extent of the teaching. So maybe he sat with him in a class. I mean, why would he be in a class with a Hindu? He wouldn't have been learning Islam. You know, so he goes to school with this guy, and I think it's in Batala, and Sayyid Muhammad Hassan Batalavi is involved in this sort of this thing too, this grooming. You might as well call it grooming at this point. Getting the Indians to work for us. How do we get them to work for us? Well, let's first make them believe that Isa al-Islam is dead, Na'uzubillah, and never coming back. The Mahdi ain't coming, bro. The Messiah ain't coming, bro. Lay down.
Yeah. You know what? It kind of, when you started saying that regarding, Jesus, peace be upon him, how they tried to portray that he's not going to be coming back, it's for me, it was like the Muslims or the people of India are already, downtrodden on. They're looked down upon. The English are coming over there, colonizing everything, making them look and feel bad. So look, also, guys, let you know that all hopes are gone for you. So don't think you're going to get saved by anybody. There's nobody coming to save you. So there's no second coming of Jesus, peace be upon him. So guys, just give up, and there's no hope for you. And I actually picked that up when you're explaining it at the beginning. It's basically the morale is being sucked dry out of them.
Yeah, bro. They're like, lay down and take it, like the Indonesians laid down and took it.
Yeah.
Like the Native Americans, it just let it happen. Sometimes when someone's they'll just let it happen, bro. Just let it happen. So that's the quagmire. Is they had superior rifles, and we didn't. So same thing with the Native Americans. When the Europeans showed up, the Native Americans are in the Bronze Age. So they ain't even really got no metal. I guess they had a little bit of gold, and gold would be your strongest metal. But how many swords can you make? You run out of gold pretty quick. So okay.
I think gold is actually quite a soft metal. Actually, gold is, out of all the metals, the pure gold is quite soft. So I don't think you can probably make a good weapon out of gold because it's actually a soft metal. Apart from its color, there's nothing else really attractive about it. And I think we are told that gold is the best type of metal, but in reality, it isn't. But sorry, brother Bashir, guys, this
Yeah,
is
yeah, or
a bit
you
more
know,
impressive.
maybe they figured out a way to mix a little bit of gold in with the
Mm,
bronze on the
mm,
tip. Like I had read, Muslims from West Africa had made it to the Caribbean,
that's right.
and there were like reports that they had spears with golden tips.
That's right. I've heard that. I've actually reached out to that brother. He's based in America. He's a black African, and he's going through the history about how the Africans were taken from their lands and so forth. Yeah, I'm gonna. I've actually contacted him on Twitter or X, and I'm hoping for him to come on the show. Very interesting. Even with Pirates of the Caribbean, there's John. What's his name again? The character from Pirates of the Caribbean. What's his name? John.
Harlow,
No, the main character from Pirates of the Caribbean. Uh,
Johnny Depp,
no, yeah, but his name in the film,
Harlow,
John
Jack
Sparrow.
Harlow,
John
John Sparrow.
Sparrow.
Sparrow, yeah.
Yeah, his real name was Yusuf. He was actually a Muslim and stuff, and he converted to Islam. He's a Jack Spade or Sparrow. But yeah, he was actually a Muslim European. He converted to Islam. But anyway, I went into another tangent.
No,
But carry on, brother.
it's totally okay. And all of that is fascinating too,
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, the superhighway to the Americas, the only way to get there with just the prevailing trade winds is from West
Mm.
Africa to the Caribbean. It also goes to South America to like Brazil, like the Guyanas. But
Mm.
you're not going to get to New York from West Africa in a sailboat because the winds just don't take you
Jackson.
up north that way.
Mm.
And you can't go from a straight line from the UK to New York. You
Mm.
can come back though, because the winds are going
It's wind
from
blowing.
west to east. So you could go that way, but you can't come this way. You know,
Oh.
and that's interesting because in the Indian Ocean they go back and forth, and the Muslims had figured out, in what months, if we want to go from Madagascar to India, what months to go and what months to come back. Because you can figure out the winds. But anyhow, so he's in Sialkot. He's interrogating people on day one. He's their boy. He's their boy. Okay. So check this out. We found out Mirza Ghulam Ahmad's a fortune teller. Did you know that, brother?
I have heard about it, but tell us some stories regarding his fortune telling. And was it like a scam where he would get paid and people would come and ask him questions and he would get paid for that? What was his particular uh, hustle there, brother? Quite interesting.
Yeah. So Mirza Ghulam Ahmad himself admits to it, and that was funny to me. And I didn't know. You know who found this and showed us? Sheikh Ibn Hazm.
Subhanallah.
He was reading Aina Kamalat Islam, and he's like, hey, this guy says he's a fortune teller, and as we know, that is haram. That is the epitome of haram in Islam. Okay, if you could pull this up.
Sorry.
So what does a fortune teller makes prophecies, brother? Hold on. Are you seeing a connection? Are you seeing a connection here? So a fortune teller, he looks at your hand and says, "You're gonna have a son, or you're gonna have a daughter, or brothers. Some of my Hindu friends who I know, who I play basketball with, will say, if you do this, you'll have 7 years of good luck. Have you ever heard of that? You ever heard like those kind of tropes, kind of
Of course.
scenarios? So he's a fortune teller. His father was a fortune teller, brother. So I don't know, brother. Mirza Ghulam Ahmad's father is a commander in the Sikh army. He famously never read Salat. Brother, how? How is it possible? Galti naal namaz pad le, bhai.
Yeah.
Masjids on accident, masjid pahunch gaye, namaz ho rahi hai, bar jao. You know what I mean? Just you just gotta follow. The guy never even did that. Famously, and that's in a different essay. They all know it. They all know it. So anyhow, his dad teaches him to be a fortune teller. And the reference is in look, here's a reference. Check it out. He says, hold on, where are we? Oh, he says, when I grew up and became a young man, I had read a little Persian and a summary of morphology and grammar treaties, several in-depth sciences, a few medical books. My father was a skilled / clever fortune teller and had extensive experience in this art. He taught me some books on fortune telling and spoke at length about encouraging people to achieve perfection in it. So as long as God will, astaghfirullah, Allah does not wish that. But he says, I did not find it in my heart. He says he gave it up. He did not. So he says, likewise, I didn't read about hadith. And this was a common thing. He doesn't care about hadith. What are you talking about, brother? I'm praying 5 times a day is in the hadith. There's so much. It comes together. The hadith, sunnah, and the Quran is together. So he says, oh, he never really got into hadith. Look, he scoffed at it. Astaghfirullah. He didn't care about the chain of transmission. Hadith scholars. Come on, bro. Look, I'll tell you, there's no other culture in this world who wrote down all their stories like the Islamic tradition, brother.
Mm.
In the Americas, they didn't even have written language in books. They were carving on walls because they didn't have paper. It was Muslims who industrialized paper. I think the Chinese invented paper. Muslims industrialized it and spread it around the world and spread the books around. So now we can write everything down, and we did. Who else wrote everything down? In Africa, they don't have a paper and they don't have books and paper. So they might have had spoken language. But even the Chinese, you can go around. I think the Greeks had a few things in there, but they couldn't mass produce the way Muslims were mass producing in the era of Sahih Bukhari. That was the era of the explosion of paper. It was cheap. So when something becomes cheap, everyone starts to do it. So anyhow, so we're talking about a fortune teller. So now he's in Sialkot. He's a fortune teller. He's working for the courts. All right. Where was I? Okay. There we go. No, this one. Okay. So, and where are we at on the page? Okay. So now his Hindu lawyer friend, he starts trying to predict the outcomes of cases. Brother, I can't make this up. You might as well be a gambler. You might as well go to Vegas, put a quarter in, pull it, and hope it comes up. You might as well play blackjack, or play the lottery. And brother, look, I had a lot of people who were friends. If they play lottery, I can't. I'm like, we're done. Mm. We're done. If you're stupid enough to play the lottery, I can't really be around you at this point in my life. It's just ridiculous. Especially like the scratchers. These dudes are tweaking out, smoking cigarettes all day and going and playing the scratcher. Like, bro, if you would have done life the right way and got a job, you wouldn't have to gamble or tell a fortune to people. So, okay. Then he starts taking night classes in English, brother. Check this out. Your prophet is learning English? He's trying. Okay. Right. Now I'll tell you, cursive is a lot harder to learn than with the standard English we got today. Because in cursive, it's hard to see. With someone's handwriting, someone could write something you can't even read it because the cursive is so terrible. You're like, why is he writing anything? So okay. So now he's taking classes in English, brother. But he failed. Fail, yes, I putter. So look, he's trying, brother. He's trying all these things. So then he takes a test to become a lawyer, or some people have called a paralegal-ish, lawyer-ish. Mm. He failed. Okay, so then he worked in many. Look, he was logging cases at some point and file keeping. One of the narrations said he was a deputy sheriff.
Oi.
Who
shot the sheriff?
At the police
No,
bus,
that was in the Bob Marley song. Who shot the sheriff, but I
who
didn't
shot
shoot the
the
deputy.
Mirza shot the sheriff. It took the job. खुद भी sheriff बन
Oh,
गया.
boy.
What
Marka,
is going on in Sialkot? So this is what I'm saying. This was the big experience in his life, which led him to go claim to be a prophet.
eh?
You know, he was the lad of the British. They love
Eh,
this guy. Okay, so let's keep going. And look, they specifically said not in the police department, a role in the court. And look, here's the reference. Here's the reference. So
eh.
I found the guy who they say
So
he
he's
lived
more
in
like a security officer, basically.
security. So no,
Security.
brother, he's an all-arounder. Look, okay, so I don't know
Yeah,
much about cricket, but there's a player
all
can be an
right.
all-arounder, right? He does the bowling. He's a pretty good hitter. He can do some fielding.
Oh,
He's their boy. He's their
he had
boy.
the badge and the gun.
Yeah, well, I don't know about the badge and the gun because I haven't found the info. But I mean, come on. You know, he'd probably be like, "Let me hold the gun." You know what I mean? Hey,
We
can I
gave him a
hold the gun?
wooden, we gave him a wooden, what do you like a little model or something. You know, when you in training practice when you start the army, they give you like a wooden kind of gun, like a shaped model. Oi, oi, oi,
Oi,
mashallah.
oi, oi.
Become Nabi, yeah.
So he's got all this going on. Then they say he spoke to a Bishop Weldon. I haven't found him yet. I'm continuing to do research on this Bishop Weldon. This guy, okay, so check this out. As I'm doing all this research, as I'm going back into it. So remember, every few years, I'll go back to one of my old essays. I'll read it again. I'll figure out all the mistakes that I made. I'll repost the links. You know, some of the hyperlinks expired, whatever. Someone will say, hey, can you go back and fix it? I'll go back and fix it. I'll find all these issues. Okay, so I find from some guy named Jalil Lamir, who alleges that while MGA was in Sialkot, he had an affiliation with the Ada Pasurian. It was a buggy stand in front of the Lady Anderson Girls High School. Bro, he's out hanging out in front of a girls' high school.
Hi, Sonia.
Oh, Sonia, ki karda pyare. You know, nasıl
My granddad would say you're Bulgarian. You're a Bulgarian.
बगैर आ गया. Bro, why are you hanging out in front of the Anderson Girls School? Okay, what are you talking about? And he would talk to people. So I'm gonna show this reference, but let me finish. This was close. There was a small mosque close to the house where Allama Iqbal was born. It ended up being the first Ahmadiyya temple in the city. And there's these other guys who were there that MGA met in the 1860s that, you know, he also knew in the 1890s. So, okay, let's get into the reference. Are we ready for this? Jalil Mir. Okay, so let me stop sharing on this one. Where do we go? Okay, so who is this guy with this new? This is brand new for me, brother. By the way, I hadn't found this before. I found this barely a week ago. Where did it go? Oh, it's a Facebook page. It's a Facebook. Okay, so here we go. So as I'm doing the research, I come across this Facebook posting. Make sure you can see this. Okay, so here's the Facebook. So Sialkot's Vanished Days by Khalid Hassan, who's somehow related. So he says one of the greatest Islamic scholars is this guy named Maulvi Muhammad Ibrahim Sialkoti. Okay, he died 9 years after he died in 1956. If you grew up in Sialkot, you would know him. He says everyone knew him. Okay, and then he says he was in Washington and in like 1992ish, and he came into contact, and then he says he's in New York. He comes across this guy who has a Sialkot connection. He's older. He knew Jalil Mir, who was a grandson of this Maulvi
Mm.
Muhammad Ibrahim Sialkoti. So and he wrote a memoir. He wrote a memoir, a 12-page handwritten note. Okay, in 1992, it's recorded. In those 12 pages, he starts to talk about his life in Sialkot. And then he says, "Oh, guess who else was there?" He says, "Oh, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad." So he says, "Look, in one of the side streets, so they all lived in like the same area. In one of the side streets, Mirza and Allama Iqbal was born in this area too. Okay, so let's see where they talk about the Anderson School. I think it's further down. Dang it. Okay. It's in here somewhere. It's in here somewhere. Yeah. So anyhow, I'm going to find it. I'm going to find it. Hold on, because I think I have it. I quoted it. Okay. Anyways, feel free to challenge me on this one. Feel free to look it up. It's there. It's there. Mirza Ghulam Ahmad was in front of this school, and I can't find the exact ref, but it's definitely there. Here, let me go back to where I was. Okay, because maybe I got a better reference to it. Jalil Mir. Okay, where's the Anderson School? Let me see if I can pull this up. Oh no, I found like a video. But this guy is saying that he's hanging out in front of this school. It makes no sense. Why he's there? Is he looking for? Oh, it was right there, right in front of me, and I missed it. So all right, let's try this again. You know, sometimes in the heat of the moment, I can't find stuff. But I just
Don't worry, brother.
So here it is. He says, "Oh, can you see it, brother?"
Yep. Let me just add it now.
So the guy says Mirza Ghulam Ahmad used to work in the Sialkot district courts in this one particular place, Adda. So it's like a joke. It's like a
Yeah, yeah, I know what I mean now, brother. Yeah, it's like a little. Normally in the city center, there's like a little, like a not like a roundabout, like a little a grouping where people just meet up and chill out. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Right. So there's an Adda, and look, this so happens to be a girls' school right there.
Bus.
So these boys are lined up, just hanging out right there. You know. So this is new information. Amalia movement, if you're listening, did this guy make it up? Okay. So I also wrote about that famous Molvi that they're talking about. I went and did some research because I'm like, well, who is this guy? I think it's Muhammad Ibrahim Sialkoti or something like that. So let's see. MGA at the buggy stand, and then what is he talking? What is he talking to people about? You know, could it be it's the same thing? He's looking for followers probably, or telling fortunes.
Yeah.
You know, like, hey, let me tell you, you know, you're about to die, bro, or something like that. I don't know. I don't know how that would work. So all right, I got it pulled up. So I was able to do some additional research, and I found this here. All right, see if that pulls up. Oh, and we are short on time. So okay, Muhammad Ibrahim Sialkoti. Who is he? Okay, so is there there's a Wikipedia page. All right. So let me pull up the Wikipedia page. And I think they use the exact same references. So here's and first thing we always check is down here the bibliography, the references. Are these good references, right? And I've checked them all out. They're all legit. So okay, he lived there from 1874 to 1956. So here's the only issue that I'm being very open with this. The witness to this information was born after MGA had left. So maybe he heard stories of what MGA used to do. So maybe it's not a first-hand account, or maybe his parents told him, you know, or his uncle told him, or other people told him. Whatever it was, you know, he didn't tell us who told him. Factually, he wasn't alive yet. or Mirza Ghulam Ahmad was in Sialkot long. Oh, say he was 5 years old, you know, that would have been out of range. He's still out of range, but feel free to check him out. He ended up being a teacher at Murray College. Well, no, he was a class fellow of Allama Iqbal. So feel free to check that out. You know, I'm willing to. Okay. So let's get back to the story. We're short on time. I got like 40 minutes left. We can always do a part 2 if we need to, brother.
100%.
Okay. So he also spoke to a Bishop Weldon. Who was Bishop Weldon? We don't know. Okay, then he also made friends with a guy named Sayyid Mir Hassan, who was a follower of guess who? Sir Sayyid Ahmad Khan. So who's he hanging out with? Your prophet's hanging out with Quranists. He's hanging out with Hindus. You know, he ain't seen a Muslim. There ain't a Muslim in a 50-mile radius that he's ever hung out with. Oh, okay, that's a joke. Because he probably did. So okay. He read the commentary on the Bible by Sir Sayyid Ahmad Khan. Okay. And then so we found a name, Mr. Praxon. He apparently worked for him in interrogating that young person. I don't know if this guy is the main deputy. I haven't found anything on him.
What do you mean interrogation? Are you actually on about physical harm to the other person?
Brother, how did they interrogate 150 years ago?
Slap, bro. You get hit with sticks and everything.
You know, the first thing they do is punch you in the face. Then they ask you a question. You know, or there's ways of like torture. You know, sticking knives in the middle of people's fingers or something like that, or in the balls of their feet. You know. So anyhow, Mr. Praxon, and look, the Arab was named Muhammad Saleh, and look, he was suspicion of espionage, and then he joined. Okay, so here comes the Reverend Butler. Okay, and this is in Sirat al-Mahdi. You see the reference, page 140. They might have moved the reference around, okay, but they say he held religious discussions with the British church priest Father Butler. And then they specifically said before he left back to England, he paid a Butler a special farewell visit in the office of Mr. Praxon, who was a deputy commissioner. So your prophet is working for Mr. Praxon in his office, sitting on the floor, bringing him chai and all that. That's your guy, man. Okay. So okay, now who is Butler? Who is Reverend Butler? And let me just show something else. So, brother, I also like to show people how I do research. You know, the big part of this is learning how to do the research quickly and understanding how to go learn, right? That's a huge skill. You know, they always say, don't help a man with a fish, teach him how to fish, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, Life of Ahmed by Darad. You got that pulled up? Okay. Okay, so here's the book. This is the most authoritative. Oh, and it came right up. This is the life of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad in 1947 by one of his main followers, brother. One of his main followers. He was a Maulvi, last name Darad. Okay. Oh, well, where'd it go? Oh, wrong one. Okay, let's search it for Butler. And I just had it pulled up. Like what happened? Oh, it's giving me trouble. Oh, it's not even showing the oh,
no, it isn't.
Found it. Okay. All right, you see it?
Yeah.
So here's what Ahmadiyya sources tell. There's two sources now. Sirat al-Mahdi said it. So Mirza Ghulam Ahmad never said anything about no Reverend Butler. He never said nothing. Okay. He didn't even say what he did in Sialkot. He just said he worked in the courts and walked around the city. That's all he said. So he says, was a Christian missionary. He had arguments on several occasions. They even said he was around this village. I looked it all up. Whatever. And then he said he liked him very much. But before leaving, he's sitting on a mat on the floor. He sunned him. He said, let me go meet my son. Man, put their Islam. Right? So I started thinking, I started searching, who is this Butler? Who is this guy named Butler? Maybe I can find him, right?
Mm.
Maybe I can find him and I'll write about him. I was bored, just trying to fill up my spare time. I'm off in the summers, brother, so I'm looking for something to do. So who is this guy? I know this guy. Well, here's his photo. Reverend Butler. Okay, but look, here's the first thing that I find, brother. You read the first sentence. In 2020, Ahmadiyya sources admitted Reverend Butler never existed.
No way.
They
Wow.
themselves admitted to it. This ain't me. So let's see. Let's click on that source and see what they said.
Not even under a different name or title.
Well, no. Yeah, they changed, but the other guy doesn't exist either. So okay. So look. You see this here? A prophet in the making by a prophet goes to Sialkot to go work in British courts in the making. Come on, guys. What are we talking about here? So okay, then they say, okay, when did they get to it? Yeah, we know about all this. Yep, I took all these references, reorganized them, put it all back together. Where do they talk about Butler? Where is the Butler part? Nope, that's not it. This isn't it. Yeah, I think it's towards the bottom. They didn't even put it at the top. They didn't even say, "Oh yeah, we messed up." They didn't even fully admit to it. Oh, see this here? Around, so they give the year 1864, and then it said the consensus. Okay, so is that he went there in 1864? But that would mean he stayed until the 1870s. Okay, we're gonna get to that. Okay, this is where I got the deputy sheriff from. Look, I went and took all these references from their own sources. Trust me, I don't need to make nothing up. I don't need to invent anything. I have the huck, brother. You know what I mean? I don't need to do anything. So, okay. Coming along here. Look, we're coming along. When do they talk about Butler? And then they say, oh, he's helping the locals of Sialkot, social circles. Look, he says him and this Sikh guy, or no, this Hindu, were also in Bata. They studied together. Brother, somebody explain this to me. What are you doing studying with a Hindu 150 years ago? It doesn't even make any sense. There wasn't even a public school and everyone's there. No, this is like a private school. You're being groomed, the grooming. And MGA was so cool with him. He'd borrow money from him whenever he needed to. They were on that level, brother. So, okay, when are they going to talk about this Butler, Taylor? Okay, is it coming? Okay, so here we go. History has it that a Christian missionary of the Scottish mission, Sialkot, by the name of Butler, history. Whose history is this? Right? Ain't nobody's history. That's not written in any book. Jamaat scholars from Pakistan said the possibility of the name Butler being wrong. Oh, really? So what did they say? Taylor. It's the same amount of words? Is it the same amount of letters? B, 6 letters. Pick another 6 letters.
You know what I'm thinking? Butler is somebody who serves you, right? Like Khanap, and the tailor is the one who makes your clothes for you. So maybe they mistranslated it.
Right. So I haven't found Taylor yet. I don't know who this Taylor is. But the Butler, I know Butler. Here, so let me switch. I found Butler. Butler was never in Sialkot, guys. So if he was never in, so look, Butler was an American Methodist missionary working out of Bareilly. Do you know where Bareilly is?
Nah, brother.
Okay, so there's like Bareilly Muslims who went to the Bareilly school,
Oh,
right?
okay.
That's the city.
Hmm.
So same thing with like Deobandi school brothers.
Yeah,
Deoband is a school, is a city.
yeah.
It's the name of a city.
Mm,
Bukhari is the name of a city. So
mm,
Imam Bukhari is the most famous person from Bukhara.
that's
They
right.
just
Yeah.
call him Bukhari. They just call him Bukhari. So okay. He's an American. So brother, look, they got the Scottish, the Americans show up. Brother, they're like, just come. It's a free for all. The funding is there. The funding is there. You just got to show up. The British will take care of you behind the scenes. Don't worry about it. So okay, um, Butler does not exist. No, he does exist. He does exist. Uh, did I show a page where he does exist? I don't.
Mm,
Oh wait, we're right here. So let me change the sharing. They said Butler was. So I thought they were going to say no. He used to travel to Sialkot. Can you see that, brother?
yeah, brother. I'm just adding now.
Brother, here's Butler. We found him. Why are they saying he? What are they talking about? Found Butler, and then he was mostly out of Mexico. Later
Mm,
on, look. So when did he show up in British India? 1856. What is he opening? Orphanages. And then in 1865, he left. He left. He went back to America. So didn't the Amity source say, "Hey, let's go back to the Amity source"? He was an American. I'm getting
was
lost
he
here.
supposed to be Scottish, wasn't it?
Uh, no, he was an American. You know
Mm,
what? I think he started off Scottish. Yep, yep. You know
mm,
what? I forgot that point. He was born in joined the Wesleyan Church. Where to go? Where to go? You know what? I think he was like born in England, but he moved to
mm.
America. Oh, yeah, it's right here.
Yeah, immigrated.
So he
Yeah.
joined the Wesleyan Church, and then he moved to America. So but the
He say
Scottish
he's born in Ireland. He say he's born in Ireland here at the top.
born in
Yeah,
Ireland. Okay, okay.
yeah. But I'm sure he said Scotland before.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So okay, look. He's got books from Boston to Bareilly and back. Look, he wrote The Land of the Veda. So he doesn't mention MGA at all. He doesn't mention them. So brother, I'm finding all these contradictions. I'm finding
Mm,
all these mistakes. Now remember, they're playing up the the misnomer that MGA debated Christian missionaries. He didn't debate no Christian missionaries.
mm,
He's walking around telling fortunes in Sialkot. He ain't talking. He's sitting on the floor and saying yes sir, no sir to Christians. That's well, I agree.
mm,
I agree. You want me to interrogate somebody? Oh.
mm,
Can I hold the gun today? Oh, I get to hold the gun today. Okay, okay. Maybe a shoulder gun with a strap on it, right? You don't have to hold it up with
mm.
a shoulder strap. You can just turn or something. Okay. So all right. That's the first guy, Butler. They turned Butler into Taylor. So let's go back to the Al Hakam, and let's see how they made this guy. So okay, so they say no, Reverend Taylor
Taylor, not Butler.
quickly became an admirer. He was very prominent. Oh, so brother, if he's this prominent, find me a Wikipedia page. Find
Mm,
me his name somewhere. I wasn't able to find it, or I can't remember at this moment. Maybe I found it and I forgot. No, but from what I remember, I couldn't find him. So there's books upon books of Scottish missionaries, and we know all the famous ones. I showed you Fander, Mere. And there's other books I'll show you, and we're probably gonna have to do a part two because we're down to like 24 minutes. But okay,
yeah, there's people backstage. I think we've got some brothers backstage. Maybe they want to come on and ask you some questions.
Sure, sure. So let's stop here at they landed on Reverend Taylor, and then let's do 24 minutes of questions and
Yeah,
salam and all that now.
inshallah, no worries. Mashallah, that was really fascinating, brother. That was like, wow. But that's your research, mashallah. You know, you do this because you know you said you got a full time job, you got family and kids, and it's quite difficult to do all this research, gather all this information, cross referencing, and everything else. It can be very tedious. It can be very difficult. But mashallah, there's a lot of information. Jazakumullah khair. Brother Rauf Sayed, are you backstage? I'm gonna bring you on now, brother. Assalamu alaikum, brother Rauf.
Walaikum assalam. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, nice and clear, brother.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. How are you guys doing?
Alhamdulillah. Good, brother. Good. Any questions, any points that you want to raise? Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I had one particular point as this was more in the line of when you guys were saying that, oh, look, a prophet is so-called prophet is doing like slave work basically, you know, for the government. And then look at the standard of the prophets according to Sahih Bukhari, um 2262, which says that the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah did not send any prophets but shepherded sheep. His
They're
companions
all shit.
asked him, did did you do the same? And the Prophet ﷺ replied, yes, I used to shepherd the sheep of the people of Makkah. You know, so did Mirza was Mirza a shepherd of sheeps? You know, and then uh, Mirza himself in his book says that the most authentic book after the Quran is Sahih Bukhari, and Sahih Bukhari itself is setting him straight. And then another thing is to all the Qadianis, Ahmadis out there is like, well, why don't you ask the question to your Murabbis according to this hadith? And according to what the Murabbis say that, oh, and have heard many of them say, Allah doesn't change his sunnah, the way he
Yeah,
does things.
I've heard
So
that.
if
Yeah,
all the prophets, according to Bukhari, were shepherds, then what happened to this sunnah? you know? And then
interesting.
according to the end of the discussion, I made another note is, why they're not reading all of this. The question Brother Bashir asked is it's the same question we've been asking. You know, why don't they want to talk about Mirza and his books? And I've been working on, or I was going through one of the streams with Brother Imtiaz and Dr. Yahya, and this guy does not want to talk about Mirza and his books at all. And this went on for about 2 to 3 hours. So these were the little comments and stuff I had. Besides
No, I
that, I really
appreciate
don't have
that, brother.
much.
I think everybody who watches those streams can be very frustrated with the lack of response from the Murabbis. They seem to just want to derail the topic and move on to other, claims. And sometimes the claims that they move to are not the ones that Brother Imtiaz or Brother Adnan are making, and it can be very frustrating. But I do like the styles between Brother Muhammad Imtiaz. He's a bit more calmer, and Brother Adnan is a straight to the direct kind of chain ball effect. I love the way they both, mashallah, do fantastic work, and it has really exposed the Ahmadiyya. Really have exposed, put them in the limelight, just to explain to everybody that these guys and this false prophet, he's a charlatan. He was a dodgy individual. In no way, nowhere near as being prophethood material. Far from it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, another thing is like every time, even like Brother Bashir just did, he brought the references from their websites. And if you go to Brother Bashir's website and then you click on it, it hyperlinks and goes directly to their alislam.org. So it's not things we're just making up, you know? It's actually in Mirza's books.
Yeah, again, brother, another thing is that, how many books did he actually physically write himself? And unfortunately, they are not translated by himself into English. So, people translate them. And then, of course, they have editions where they seem to be updated and tweaked here and there just to match their claims of Mirza's claims. So that's also an aspect of what these Murabbis do. And we've seen it throughout the streams where they come on and they, like you said, brother, they do not directly answer the question. For me, Tahir, I think the guy called Tahir, that particular individual really shook me. Some of his claims regarding the miracles and, not claiming regarding Abraham, peace be upon him, with the birds, the miracle of the birds, and also the verse regarding Mary, peace be upon her, when she was visited by the angel telling her the good news that she'll be bearing a son. And I didn't like the way he kept on saying that, it was a well-proportioned angel, well-proportioned man. It was just disgusting for me. And I actually brought that up on the stream the other day. Like, how come the brothers didn't really pin him down on that? What are you trying to say, Tahir? That this angel was well-proportioned and so forth. What are you trying to say? And it disgusts me, brother. It really, but I'm, like I said, in the same way, I'm happy that this cult is being on social media, being exposed for what they truly are, just a cult.
I agree, my brother.
And brother Shoaib, I've met brother Raouf. We're in the same state. I've even been to his house.
Okay.
So amazing, brother.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah. Good to hear. I'm hoping that if somebody wants to come on, John Wick, feel free to come on regarding the death of Jesus. If you want to talk about that, feel free to talk about that. There are aspects of the Qadiani belief that Jesus, peace be upon him, made his way all the way to India. Why pick India of all places? I'm sure there'll be better places to go to than India, but yeah, and apparently he's buried there. And then this particular individual called Mirza Ghulam claims to be the reincarnation or the kind of spiritually reincarnated version of Jesus, peace be upon him, and also put the Prophet Muhammad. It's just ridiculous. The claims that these people make, you've got to be a nutcase to accept his claims. You have to be. The brother Bashir, I want to ask you regarding when they say Burzi, and there's another term. What do they mean by that, brother?
Buruzi, Zilli.
Zilli, yeah.
So when Mirza Ghulam Ahmad finally officially claimed to be prophethood, he claimed prophethood in such a way, saying that he was Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Ahmad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which both of those are Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But he was saying that he has a share in it, sharik. He has a sharik in 61:6, the famous verse of Ismahu Ahmad. So that's how he claimed to be a prophet, was that way in making those arguments. So it's all nonsense. And brother, the reason people are in it is because of the financial. If you were an Amdi, you would get hired in British India. Did the British know that they could trust you, brother Ru? If you're a Qadiani, can the British trust you?
Yeah, obviously, since the prophet is a slave of the queen.
So it's a perk to get hired. It's a perk to get hired. You're going to get a governmental job. Mirza Ghulam Ahmad's son, his eldest son, was like a deputy commissioner for many years. They knew they could trust him, and he wasn't even an Ahmadi. Whether he was a Muslim or not is up for debate. Because what's your state? What masjid do you go to, bro? Even though, okay, I guess to be a Muslim, you don't absolutely have to show up to the masjid. But in the 1800s, what else are you doing? You know what I mean? You don't go to the masjid, bro. There's nothing else to do. Where else would you go? Go home? Like, that's the place to go. That's where all the boys are at.
Subhanallah. It's very interesting.
No, no.
Somebody's
What's interesting? John Wick, after hearing everything I said, all he wants to talk about, all he said was, "Hold on,
I'll be back in 2 minutes, brother. Be back in 2 minutes. Carry on.
yeah." But brother Raouf, did you see this guy John? He says he wants to talk about the same thing. Is there a specific verse that says Jesus, alayhi salam, was taken into heaven, body and soul, and will return back? We're back to this again.
Yeah,
We've been over this.
that's the only script that they have, you
That they
know.
got, bro. They don't know
Yeah,
nothing.
that's all they have.
And so I'll ask him. I'll say, "Hey, do you remember Sheikh Ibn Hazm? Do you remember he said Rafa who? There's like a who at the end of that. Rafa who? And he's like, that proves because I think the soul in the Quran is referred to in like feminine most of the time, but in this case it was referred to as in the masculine. So he's like, that's the proof that he was lifted towards Allah. So you can't say he was raised in ranks to Allah's rank. You can't say that. So it's 4158 and 4159 before his death. So what is this guy talking about? They just all go back to it.
Yeah, that's I've seen it with a lot of these guys, you know, if they can't uh defend Mirza and his books, they'll go back to, well, Nozbillah Isa alayhi salam is dead. He's not gonna come back. You know, and
Yeah,
you can't go against, you know, when you say, oh, um, we're with the Quran and Sunnah. Well, the Quran and the Hadith itself says that Isa ibn Maryam. The Quran says Isa ibn Maryam. There's only one person we know is Isa alayhi salam, and if Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said Isa alayhi salam, the son of Mary, is gonna come back, full stop. That's it. Our Hakam and Adal, as the Qadianis say, you know, Hakam and Adal. Ours is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If he said something, that's it. Khalas. No more
right,
ifs, whats, and buts about it. You know?
right. Sounds good. Let me ask you a question though. What do you think about Fander and the things he said about the contradictions that he's found, alleges about Isa alayhi salam and prophethood? What do you think about all that?
Well, if I remember, because I was doing some paperwork and listening at the same time, but isn't it true that it was based from the Bible and the biblical sources, right?
No, he had read I think he read George Sale's Quran, um, which was the first one in English, the first mistranslation into the English, and I think he had it. You know, they had it in America. Didn't Thomas Jefferson use it? Didn't Thomas Jefferson have it?
I know Thomas Jefferson had a Quran, but I don't know if it was that specific one.
It was. It was the one by George Sale in English, and George Sale didn't even know Arabic. How did he even know Arabic? He didn't go live in Arabia. So his whole story is weird. He was just living in England, and he knew Arabic somehow, and translates the Quran. He mistranslates the Quran into English. You
He
know, and
probably borrowed it from Mirza.
so this was before that era. This was like late 1700s, and there was a war with the Muslims of North Africa versus America. So I think Thomas Jefferson went and got that Quran to go read about Islam, to go read about why are we being attacked by the Berbers, why are they messing up our trade, you know, and they eventually signed a peace treaty. It's the longest running peace treaty in the history of America, which was made with Muslims in North Africa in 1780 or something like that.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he must have read that, and then he came up with these lines of argumentation against Islam. Same thing with William Muir. He read the same mistranslation.
Okay.
Brother Shoaib, what else do we have? Because I got 9 minutes left, or 11 minutes left.
Yeah, we can just hopefully talk about part 2 maybe sometime this weekend. We can continue with this, inshallah, because I know it's really early for you, and I appreciate that. And we can hopefully wrap it up and then start part 2 maybe Saturday or Sunday if that's okay.
Inshallah, inshallah. And then I want to ask you, do you know how America annexed Hawaii?
Say that again. America and
How did America annex Hawaii?
annex.
Annex.
Annex. Oh, that's a good question, brother. I really don't know.
The missionaries were involved. The missionaries were, without the missionaries, they go together.
Yeah.
The missionaries and the army, and then the CIA to destabilize. So if there's so many documentaries on how America stole Hawaii, and as you know, we all know how strategic that Hawaii is. In fact, it's the most strategic point in the Pacific. Because if you control Hawaii, you control all trade going into America, basically. So and that's why and you know, when the Japanese bombed Hawaii, it wasn't even a state of America. It was just an overseas territory. It didn't get statehood till like 20 years later, like 25 years later.
SubhanAllah.
So the point of me saying that is it goes together. The Christian missionaries and the colonization, it goes together. Brother Raouf, what do you think about the Dutch in Indonesia? And the nutmeg. Did you know about the nutmeg craze, man?
No, I didn't know about that. I just learned about it today.
They were going crazy for that nutmeg, bro. You know, and then they figured out we don't have to go so far. You know, we can just find an island in the Caribbean and turn it into a nutmeg farm. You know, and have you ever ate dole? Brother Shoaib, have you ever heard of the Dole Company? DOLE?
No, I haven't, brother. What is that? Is that Dole? Is I think they do pineapples in juice and canned stuff. Am I right?
Yeah. Their biggest plantations in Hawaii. The owners of the Dole Company, I think the Dole family, they were the first. They were the conquerors of Hawaii.
Wow.
So you bring in a corporation like Pepsi. Or like Dole, and then you get the corporations to do your dirty work. So look, it's not America robbing Liberia in West Africa for its rubber. No, it's the Firestone Company. So you can't blame America. Technically, I mean we you know, technically, but they're like, no, that's not us. It's Firestone. But we all know rubber only grows around the equator. So if you don't have rubber, your tank ain't gonna work, bro.
Yeah.
You know, it just ain't gonna work. Your vehicles aren't gonna. Your aircraft can't land. So
need those tires. Need the tires, brother.
The tires, bro.
The tires.
You know, and they've invented synthetic rubber at this point. You know, but in the olden days, the only places to find rubber were around the equator. So in Brazil, they grew rubber. West Africa, Indonesia. If you didn't have Connect, you know who made a killing off of rubber? Belgium. What do they call Belgium? Like, what kind of people are Belgium?
European, aren't they? Of course. And
but there's a special. What do you call someone from Belgium? Hold on. There's like a. So you call the Dutch. The Dutch are from the Netherlands, right?
Yeah, Netherlands. Yeah.
Or also like Holland.
No, good question.
What are Belgium? Flemish? Okay, just Belgians, I guess. So they got rich off of rubber. Because in the Congo, a lot of rubber. And so the interesting thing about rubber is you can't farm it. All the rubber trees are like 50 feet away from each other. You can't do like mass, because the Ford company tried it. For everyone who's listening out there, Gerald Ford invented a city in Brazil called Fordlandia, where he tried to farm rubber. because he needed rubber for the tires on the Model T, right? Problem is, you can't farm. Rubber trees can't be right next to each other. They got to be like some. And I'm saying this off of memory. There's got to be some. It's not like corn. It's all next to each other, or tomato. It's all just one there. No, it's got to be further away in trees. Which at this point it doesn't matter because almost all rubber is like fake synthetic rubber.
Yeah, it is.
Let me check. So this is sort of the context of why the Europeans came to India. Trust me, they weren't coming there to go look at the rivers or nothing like that. And Brother Shoaib, is it interesting? What part of Pakistan are you from, Brother Shoaib? I don't remember.
I'm from the region. From my parents from Kashmir, brother. Azad Kashmir.
Azad Kashmir.
Yeah.
So in the Sindh, there's the big port city of Karachi. It was never a big city until like the last 100 years. It was never a big port. The British, I think, because you would have to make a railroad because there's desert in between Sindh and it ends up being deserty in every direction, I think. So the main ports, so the Christian missionaries came in at Bombay, Calcutta, Bangladesh. And then
they were clever, mate. They're, even to this day, they're doing the same scenarios, but we just don't seem to realize what they're doing, especially in Iraq and Libya and other parts of the world where they are got their dirty fingers in there. They're doing it for the resources, nothing else. They send in proxy warlords to do their dirty work, as we know, and then they will dry the country, take everything from the country. It's just sickening. And unfortunately, brother, we fall for it every time.
Yeah. And some locations are strategic, like Taiwan. It's a strategic. The United States government has China back against the wall, surrounded. First, for China to do anything, first they got to beat Taiwan, and we know they're not willing to engage. So, Israel, brother, and Gaza and Suez, that's a strategic. There's billions in GDP going through the Suez Canal every day.
Well, we know it now because when Yemen is stopping the boats into that particular area, if they can control that particular sea, the trade and whatever comes into that area, it has a huge part in it.
So it's game over. It's game over. Same thing with the Malaysia. Whoever controls Malaysia controls the trade coming out of China. So that's sort of what we're talking about. There's going to be a part 2. I'll just continue from Sialkot. I got it all in my head because I wrote like 15 essays in the last month about this phenomena of the Christian missionaries. Brothers and sisters, check us out either next week or this weekend, and we'll finish up. And bring your questions about this specific topic. You want to talk about the alleged death of Isa alayhi salam. There's streams on it. You go look. Well, what's the point? And Brother Shoaib, that's why I wanted to bring something different, something that hasn't been discussed. Whereas look, Razi and all these guys are talking about the same thing every day. Go and listen to his streams. He's got like 10 topics. That's it. He never goes beyond them. So
no, Razi right now he's stuck to the sect card. Because they're losing so many people, it seems like, and they're trying to put the fear in them of like, well, what sect are you gonna go in? Only one sect is supposed to go to heaven, so which one is it? If they can't tell you, then just stay where you're at, because we're claiming we're the 73rd sect, and we are that sect that's gonna go to heaven. Now I was like, come on, what a load of baloney.
Brother, we can open a can of worms, and I love the way they try to ask the Adnan and Brother Imtiaz, what group do you belong to? And then, I know where they're going with this, of course, and they don't want to deal with Mirza's claims. That's the thing. They want to derail the argument, point fingers at you, but don't want to point any fingers at Mirza. Because now once the fingers are pointed at him and he's exposed, like Brother Bashir has just done now, the religion is finished. The religion is their cult is finished, I should say. But alhamdulillah.
No, it
I
is a
think,
different religion. That is a different religion in itself. The cult itself is a different religion, so it has nothing to do with Islam.
no, nothing at all whatsoever. Subhanallah. But Brother Bashir, thank you for joining me, and I appreciate the early morning start for you, mashallah. Brother Rauf Said, thank you, brother. I think you're also on my Twitter, aren't you? I think,
Yes,
Brother
yes.
Rauf. Yeah, Jazakallah khair, brother. Appreciate that. So we're going to wrap the show up, and I hope you guys really benefited from this stream. If you haven't, rewatch it and go through the references that Brother Bashir has brought, because they are very profound, great information for your toolbox. So thank you for that. Rana also mentioned, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and also think about becoming a member to the channel. I think it's about £1.99 a month. That really helps me get down to Speaker's Corner, and I'm planning to get down to Speaker's Corner on the 1st of September. So inshallah, please think about becoming a member. And tomorrow morning, I'm hoping 10 a.m. after speaking to Brother Siraj from Speaker's Corner. We did a stream just before this one. He'll be joining me tomorrow at 10 a.m. And look out for the thumbnail for that, inshallah, and the promo. Jazakumullah khair. Brother Rauf, Brother Bashir, final thoughts, final words. I'll leave it to you before we wrap the show up.
Assalamu alaikum, brother. Yeah, I guess my final words would be do your research. I'm not saying I've thoroughly researched it. I'm scratching the surface, looking for more information, looking to collaborate and learn more. That is the Islamic tradition, is to continue to learn, to seek knowledge. And, you know, so far the muqaddimah, or the case against Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, is he would sit on the floor in the deputy commissioner's office and do whatever he wanted him to do, whether it was interrogate people or be a sheriff, a deputy sheriff, whatever they needed him to do, he was going to do for them, and which is what he did later on in his career, and they celebrated him for that. That is the story. And over you, Brother Raouf.
Final words to you, Brother Rauf. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't have much to say besides, you know, just read the Quran, read the Hadith. Forget, you know, if you want to know your Aqidah, Quran and Hadith, that's the way to go. And if any scholar, doesn't matter who it is, could be the biggest scholar in the world, if they say anything against the Quran and Sunnah, you leave them, throw their thing against the wall. You know, because those scholars in them, they're not going to stand for you on the day of judgment. Neither is Mirza. It's just you yourself. So you choose where you're going to go by the will of Allah,
Well
inshallah.
said. Well said, brother. Thank you. And hopefully that will conclude the show. Like I said, tomorrow 10 a.m. inshallah, Brother Siraj will be joining me, who is normally a debater and somebody who attends Speaker's Corner on a regular basis. So look out for that. Jazakumullah khairan. This is Brother Muhammad Abu Shu'aib. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.